Welcome to your 2021 Mazda CX-30 Turbo. A little more accurately, welcome back to your 2021 Mazda CX-30 Turbo. I had this in February, but it was back home in Mississauga and it was the winter. And a lot of urban driving, a lot of 4, 5, 6 lane highway drives. And now I am in southern Alberta and it's a very different world. It's summer, albeit the end of summer, but still by the calendar, it's still summer. A lot of 2-lane highways, a lot of just wide open roads. So as far as driving impressions go, in a complete 180 from what I'm used to driving, the CX-30 Turbo does really well on long open stretches. You set your cruise control, literally 2 buttons. You hit the cruise button on the bottom right of the steering wheel, and then you hit the set button, and that's it. And yes, you can tweak it for faster or slower. And it has Mazda's radar cruise control, so you choose the distance between yourself and the next car to keep that consistent distance, whether you want it to be really close, which I don't advise at all. I'd rather you push it back as far as you possibly can. But back to the driving impressions itself, it's really quiet, it's smooth, it drives really, really well. I've been in Calgary for a couple of days, up about an hour and a half north of Calgary as well. And then where I am now, which is Waterton, which is about 4 hours south of Drumheller. So I've done almost 700 kilometers, and there's about another 350, 400 left to go. So a lot of these have been on 2-lane highways, so not necessarily a lot of twists and turns and really exploring the handling of it, but I can say that Mazda keeps pushing towards amplifying their niche spot in the market. They're not a luxury manufacturer at all, but they're not a regular manufacturer like Honda, Toyota, Nissan. And again, no shots against the manufacturers I mentioned, but you're either luxury or you're not, or you're Mazda. And I would put Mazda in a premium spot. So the materials used here, not luxury, but upscale, very premium, a lot of soft touch. The seats are really, really supportive and soft, and the leather just feels so good. The fit and finish on the inside really helps set it apart, and it may seem like I'm veering from the driving by getting into the interior, but it's, for me, it's not just how the 4 wheels spin and how the car reacts and how fast it is. It's the overall driving experience. So having higher class interior materials coupled with a nice smooth drive really helps set it apart. Now, this being the turbo, it's not one specific set of power numbers. So if you put 87 octane in, the 2.5 liter turbo 4 gets you 227 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque. Now, if you put in 93 octane, those figures slightly change, and it goes up to 320 horsepower and 250 horsepower and 320 pound-feet of torque. So I got my numbers backwards in my head just for a quick moment. I don't think many people are going to put 93 in. I think having 227 horsepower on a small little vehicle is more than enough. I don't have any issues with the CX-30 or the CX-30 Turbo on a whole, but I'm just a little quirky as to where it's going to sit in the Mazda lineup. So you have the Mazda 3 Sport, also known as Mazda 3 Hatchback. Then you have the CX-3, which is a subcompact crossover. Then you have the CX-30, which is a little taller, but more visually aligned with the Mazda 3 hatch/sport. CX-5 isn't even in the equation. It's a lot bigger on all fronts. So it's really between the 3, CX-3, CX-30. I think that the 3 should gracefully bow out. I think the CX-30 can do the job of both itself and the CX-3. There's a lot more power to be had. Yes, I know price points are going to differ a little bit, but the Mazda 3 itself, I think, would be great as one option, and the Mazda CX-30 great as the other option, leaving the CX-3 out of it. Because if you want the extra space, you want the lift, you want all of the extra power, CX-30 has it. If you want something a little lower to the ground, a little sleeker, a little more stylish, then the Mazda 3 Sport / hatch can be the way you go. I like the 30 Turbo specifically. It's got a lot of power. It drives very smoothly. It's got great sight lines. It's got great body lines, premium materials on the inside. Top trim GT does have everything, so it's got all of your safety systems, all the bells, whistles, everything's checked off on the option sheet. You can go for the other two trims. Now I know the base trim has a 2-liter engine with, I believe it's 151 horse, 155 torque, and the mid trim has a, I believe it's 2.5-liter engine with an even 181 horse and 181 pound-feet of torque. But I always want to have more power available to me. Doesn't mean I'm always going to use it, but it's not one of those things where you can just run back to your Mazda dealer and go, you know what, can you just flip that engine out, you know, maybe like a few months or a couple of years after. What you get is what you get. So instead of risking buyer's remorse, I would opt for this specific turbo engine. Just to touch back on the interior side of things, again, very clean layout, very thin steering wheel. Buttons are nice and small, but yet very well labeled. It's a non-touchscreen infotainment system, and thankfully Mazda does have a scroll wheel that is much more intuitive than using any kind of a trackpad. It's, to me, a little safer than having the touchscreen, so instead of leaning forward and having to couple that with your eyes being shifted there for a moment, it's just all in the scroll wheel right down just behind the gear shift. And that little area, again, very well laid out. Everything's nice and ergonomically sound here. Not a lot of buttons. The HVAC system is an excellent exercise in minimalism. It's so small and compact that it allows the rest of the designs on the inside to kind of flow through. It doesn't look cluttered at all. Overall, I do like the CX-30 Turbo. It's got a quirky spot in the Mazda lineup, but I like it because it does all of the things that the CX-3 does, but it does it with a little more real estate, a lot more power, and a lot more function. So we'll see what the market decides and how consumers behave over the next couple of years in regards to buying something in the small SUV crossover / CUV market. After a week of driving in rural and a little bit of urban Alberta, I like the CX-30 a little more now because noise, vibration, harshness on long stretches of roads are at a minimum. The engine does very well. It gives me passing power when I need it, and it's tame when it has to be on the city streets. It looks good, it feels good, it drives well. It's a weird spot in the Mazda lineup, but I don't think the CX-3 is going to be as relevant now the stronger in popularity the CX-30 becomes, especially with that turbo option for the engine. You have all sorts of power. That's going to wrap it up for the 2021 Mazda CX-30 Turbo. If you've got any questions on the vehicle, let me know in the comments, and I'll do my best to get you answers as soon as possible. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate the support, and feel free to subscribe if you haven't already, and feel free to suggest the channel to somebody who you think might be interested in what it is that I do. Until I see you in the next video, can't clap my hands like I usually do, so I will just nod. So be well, be healthy, be safe.